More and more people were stuffing themselves on as we went down the line. We got to King's Cross and more people jammed themselves on. There were about 8 deep on the platform, and I can remember the doors closing and people who hadn't managed to get on going through the windows at us. We'd been travelling, I think, about 60 seconds and everything went black. And there was this enormous force threw me to the floor. And we couldn't breathe, and it was so dark, couldn't hear properly, and then the screaming started.
At 8:50, the world changed. Within seconds, bombs tore through 3 tube trains across London. Around an hour later, the 4th man detonated his bomb on a bus. According to the official account, there's no doubt these 4 men murdered 52 people and injured 784 others. In Britain's first suicide attacks.
Now, some breaking news. Reports are just coming in of an explosion at Liverpool Street Station here in London.
They believe at the moment
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard of a few moments ago was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing, and indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were, and it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened. During this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense
that it's a power surge.
Still no indication that this was sabotage.
4 huge explosions brought London to a standstill. The search began to make sense of what had happened. Since then, a growing network of skeptics have scrutinized every word and every picture for signs of a hidden truth. 4 years on, conspiracy theories have mushroomed, and a host of internet films have flourished, claiming that the government account of 7/7 is a deception.
We are being What we're being offered is at best, you probably think you know what happened that morning. You don't.
Speculation.
The former MI5 spy David Shaler presents one video.
The anomalies and the explosives used.
Other filmmakers prefer to remain anonymous. These internet videos have found an audience. Tens of thousands of people have seen them online. But there is one video at the extreme end of the spectrum. 7/7 Ripple Effect was released 2 years after the attacks. Its unknown maker goes under an Arabic-sounding name.
A message. From Muad'Dib about the 7th of July 2005 and see what we would.
While other conspiracy films just pose questions, 7/7 Ripple Effect goes further.
Pre-planned. Explosives.
The film says there's evidence the 4 men blamed for the bombings were framed.
The one thing that we can be sure of is that it was not done by 4 young Muslims.
The film claims these men were fall guys in a government plot to win support for the war on terror. For many 7/7 survivors and victims' families, the conspiracy theories are pernicious. Rachel North is appalled by them.
I get bothered about the truth. To live through that and to still be alive in the aftermath, and other people weren't. And to have seen firsthand the suffering it causes. It is genuinely upsetting to be told that my eyewitness account, other people's eyewitness accounts, other people's grief are wrong.
Rachel is now seeking an independent public inquiry into 7/7. She wants to know whether the bombers could have been stopped. But she's also taking on the conspiracy theories because she fears they play into the hands of extremists.
You know, all this is really inflammable stuff. We have a small minority of people spreading a big, powerful idea. And the big, powerful idea is there is a war on Islam, there is a war on Muslims, it is your duty to fight against those who strike at our people. The idea that the government's actually faked the 7/7 bombings in order to demonise Muslims is just throwing petrol onto the flames of this idea.
The conspiracy theory has been picked up. An opinion poll 2 years after 7/7 found that around a quarter of British Muslims questioned thought the government or MI5 were involved in the 7/7 bombings. This is the Central Mosque in Birmingham. We were invited to film at Friday prayers. On the agenda, 7/7.
How many people in this mosque, please raise hand, who do not accept the government version of 7th of July?
The mosque chairman, Dr. Mohammed Nassim, is a leading figure in the community.
I was doubtful from the very beginning of the story that as the story emerged, I thought it was too fast, too quick. Unless somebody else has already prepared it.
He questions how the men blamed for the attacks were identified. A few days after 7/7, the police said they'd found vital evidence in the wreckage.
We have since found personal documents bearing the names of 3 of those 4 men. Close to the seats of 3 of the explosions.
But if the men blew themselves up, how did these documents survive?
When the body blows up, now everything is destroyed. The body is turned into pieces. How come these whole documents were remained intact? Now, this is something that I cannot understand.
For Dr. Nassim, it's too similar to a suspicious find after the 9/11 attacks, in the wreckage of the Twin Towers.
If you go back to 9/11, the aeroplane and that blew up, everything, the metal melted, but the passport was found intact.
Although the hijacker perished, along with everybody else on board, his passport survived.